All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about the welterweight division, specifically news that came out yesterday that was refuted by Danny Garcia, specifically around him fighting Terence Crawford next. We'll talk about that deal, the rumor about that deal, and also what Danny Garcia said in this video. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. Welcome back to the channel. If you are a longtime subscriber, thank you so very much for subscribing to the channel and continuing to support the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, please accept my invitation to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon before so that you can get notified of when we release more videos. Make sure you hit all notifications so you don't just get them occasionally. And also, if you do wager on sports, this video is brought to you by our betting partner, busr.ag/Fanon. We have a special promotion that is going to that we are running that we'll be having $1,000 giveaway after the Errol Spence versus Yordenis Ugas fight. So go sign up there in the link that you can see below here and in the chat. So let's get into that. Let's get into the subject matter of the video. All right. So Facebook, there was a Facebook group yesterday that out of Sweden that reported that there was an offer that Terence Crawford is considering a 2-fight deal for $30 million to sign with the PBC to fight where the first fight, I do believe they said, would be Danny Garcia, and the next one would be Keith Thurman. So a lot of people were asking about that in the live streams that we did, and what the thoughts on that. But there was already just earlier this week something that was said by Danny Garcia that kind of throws some shade on that, and that is Danny Garcia specifically saying that that he wants to fight Keith Thurman next, and that he believes that the fight with Terence Crawford would be a good fight, but he said not for sure, not next, right? So if Danny Garcia, unless Danny Garcia changed his mind in the last week, I would not put too much credence into Danny Garcia fighting Terence Crawford in his next fight. Also, there's other rumblings going on, and I don't know the specific details of it, but it is definitely somebody that is very well connected to the PBC and is in the camp of PBC fighters. So has their ear to the ground and knowing what's going on. And what they said was, look, and they said this earlier this week, look, and they were cryptic in it, if this fight does not take place between Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford, I'll tell you I know what that's going to be, why that is, right? Now, what does that mean? More than likely what that means is that Terence Crawford is, because we know that Terence Crawford is in negotiations, and nobody has denied that that's the case, that he's in negotiations with the PBC or with Al Haymon to fight with the PBC. There's nobody that debates that is the case. And one of the major reasons that that to be true is that the camp themselves, which is the Terence Crawford camp themselves, have been much more receptive to the idea of signing with Al Haymon, and have said things like, yeah, they need to sign him to a multi-fight deal, a big fight deal, right? So a 2-fight deal being out there for them, when that is said, I definitely believe that is the truth. Also, it would really make a lot of sense if he did fight Danny Garcia and did get a fight with Danny Garcia and then get a fight with Keith Thurman, or get a fight with Danny Garcia in June and then get the Errol Spence Jr. fight after that. It would make a lot of sense because that would be a good pay-per-view for, between Errol and Terence and Danny Garcia. I'm sure a lot of people would buy it because once that fight is made, that that now there's an operational relationship between the PBC and Terence Crawford. So that makes the likelihood of the fight taking place between the winner of Terence Crawford and whoever he fights, if that's Danny Garcia, and the winner of the Errol Spence Yordenis Ugas fight. So all of that stuff makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's almost kind of like, if you look, when you're looking at what, and this is my opinion, how I look at it, when you're looking at what, promoters are going to do and what fighters are going to do, but behind the scenes, there's not a lot of visibility into it. But with everything else that is above the board and sitting on the board, it's pretty, you can have a good guess about narrowing down what the person's next move is going to be. Similar to like a chess game. You don't know, you can't necessarily read the mind of the guy that is playing, but you can, depending on how good a player you are, see what he's setting up with certain moves and be able to predict what his options are. And in this particular case with Terence Crawford, he has a finite number of options, right? And the PBC is really, is the organization that keeps all of his options. However, that doesn't mean that a fighter like Danny Garcia is going to say, okay, yeah, I haven't fought because I don't think Danny Garcia has fought in 2 years, right? I'm going to come off of a year and a half layoff or whatever, because I do believe he fought in late 2020, but he was the last fight for Errol Spence Jr. and Errol Spence Jr. is going on 2 years being out of the ring. So I don't know if Danny Garcia is going to be willing to jump it himself, is going to be able to willing to jump in the ring with Terence Crawford coming off that long a layoff for himself, right? I would think, just like he said, that he would say, okay, if I'm going to fight Terence Crawford, because that's a legitimate championship fight. Danny Garcia is not somebody that doesn't believe that he can be in contention to win fights, that he would probably want to say, let me fight somebody where I think I can get my rust off and before I get in the ring with Terence Crawford, right? Coming off of a layoff, he's a smart guy. Coming off that long a layoff to fight Terence Crawford could and probably would be disastrous for him. But in my personal opinion, either way it goes, I think the conversation about a 2-fight deal is a great thing. I think that's what Terence Crawford, I'm certainly hoping that Terence Crawford does. And I've said this in multiple videos. It doesn't matter if he fights Danny Garcia to me, Keith Thurman, or whether he fights Jaron Ennis before he fights Errol Spence Jr. I want to see these guys in really good fights, right? I would prefer to see the Errol Spence Jr. fight with Terence Crawford immediately, right? The next fight for Bud, but that may or may not be realistic. But again, the two things that kind of make me feel a little funny about the idea that it'll be Danny Garcia next is, one, that Danny Garcia himself said that he doesn't want the fight next. He said he'd be open to the fight, but not next. And he just said that last week. And also the fact that, that there's rumors that there's just difficulties altogether with the negotiations that are taking place between the PBC and Terence Crawford. And also when you look at, like, when they say it's a $30 million deal, what's the $30 million going to be divided under? Like, how are you going to divide that? Are you going to give him a $15 million guarantee for Danny Garcia and a $15 million guarantee for Errol? Or are you going to give him that doesn't make sense, because I don't think that they are going to be able to give him over a $10 million guarantee for Errol Spence. That would mean the first guarantee would have to be $20 million. So I don't know, man, just my best guesstimation, or just looking at that negotiation from the outside looking in, it just seems a little questionable to me. But anyway, you let me know what you think in the comment section. It may pan out to be the case. You let me know what you think in the comment section, what you want to see happen, what you think will happen next. Also, make sure you hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And with that, I'm out. Peace.